dividing rational numbers. So we're going to divide fractions, and we're going to divide decimals, and of course integers. So if we just do a little mini review here, we can think of dividing as jumping, or we just divide our numbers. So you can take 6 divided by 2, how big do we get? 3, good. So we are going to get a 3 for an answer. 6 divided by 3 should also then give us 2. Now if we don't have fractions, and we have one fraction, the other number's not a fraction, what do we have to do to the fraction? What do you think? What do you think, Berkeley? You can put a 1 under the 2, make them both fractions for sure. But what are some other strategies you guys used to divide before? You could. So I could go 2 divided by 0.25. Yeah. Sure. So you could go 2 divided by 1 divided by 4 and then equals. Okay, like a bet math, yeah. Okay, so what are you going to get when you get 2 divided by a quarter? Well, that's what 1/4 is. That's 0.25. What's 2 dividing by that? No, you should get 8. Okay, check your work. In your calculator, put that in. Put 2 divided by 0.25 and see what you get. All right. Something you could also do too on this question. Since 1/4 is like chopping a piece of pie into 4 parts, correct? What you could do is you could say, okay, well, if I have 2 full pies and they're divided into quarters, how many quarters do I have with 2 full pies? How many pieces would you have? You'd have 8 pieces. Okay? So there's different ways to look at that. 5 dividing by a half. How many halves are in 5? Well, first of all, 5 is going to have 2 of them. Or one whole has 2 halves, correct? 2 halves make 1 whole. Okay, so 2 make 1. How many are going to make 5? 10 of them. 10 of them.
You can also write that fraction. Write it as 10 halves or 8 quarters.
Yes. Okay. On number 4, or the next one, 4 divided by 2. Well, hopefully we all know that is 2. 4 divided by a half. How many halves are in 4? Well, we know there's 2 halves in 1. So how many halves are in 4? 8. Good. Now, 6 divided by 2/3. That's going to give us a run-on decimal. It's going to give us a run-on decimal. What do you think that's going to be? That's like saying you're cutting something into 3 pieces. Okay? So you've got 6 of them, and you're shading 2 pieces on each of those 6. How much do you have? You get 9. Okay, let's practice that another time. Here's our fraction rules. First of all, the one on the left is called our dividend. The one we're dividing by is called our divisor. And the answer to any dividing is called the quotient. Okay? That's why our rational numbers are Q for quotients, because they can be put into fraction form. If I wrote this like this, it would look like 18 over 6. Well, that's a fraction with A on top of B, correct? Okay? So remember, fractions are quotients, which are our rational numbers. Okay? So that's what we're dealing with is rational numbers. So for dividing fractions, these are the rules. And this is the kind of short trick I showed you just a minute ago. So the first number, you don't touch. It stays the same. The number after the divide sign, you flip it upside down, and then you change the divide sign to timesing, to multiplying. And then you just multiply tops, multiply bottoms, and reduce. Okay? That's what I was actually doing, so watch carefully. If we have a whole number, like on the last page, I had a 6 divided by 2/3. Remember that question? Okay. Well, what is 6 as a fraction? 6 over 1. Because you're going to put a 1 underneath it. Okay? Now, the rule for dividing says flip the second fraction, the one that's after the divide sign. So I'm going to flip the 3 and 2, and then you change the divide sign to timesing. Okay, I'm going to times now. So my timesing rules, they tell me to times my tops, 18, times my bottoms, 2, take top divide by bottom. So that's going to give me 18 divided by 2, which is 9. Okay, the same answer I got when I took 6 times 3 divided by 2. Remember how a minute ago I showed you to do this? Multiply and then divide by the guy left over? That's all this is. I was using fraction rules. Okay? So all we're going to do, I'm just showing you the divide rules. So let's back this up a step. So the first number, if it's not in a fraction, you put it in a fraction. So this one, the 6 was not a fraction. We put it over 1 to make a fraction. A number on the right-hand side of the divide sign, you have to flip it upside down. So that means that the 3 is going to go to the top, the 2 goes to the bottom. Then the divide sign changes to a times sign. Now you're back to the multiply rules. And that's how we divide fractions all the time. So then you multiply the top numbers, multiply bottom numbers, and that's what we get, 18 over 2. Now if it's a number we can actually divide, and they divide evenly, we can. So 18 divided by 2 gives us 9 wholes. We can divide that. Okay? Or if it gives us a terminating decimal, a decimal that ends, you can leave it in decimal form. Okay? Alright, let's take a look at A and B here. Let's try A and B together. So A, which number is going to flip upside down? The 2 and 3 or the 1 and 5? The 1 and the 5. Good. It's the number after the divide sign. They flip upside down. The first one stays the same, 2 over 3. The other guy flips, becomes a 5 over 1. And now my divide sign, he comes down now and changes to a times sign. Okay, so now I'm multiplying. Now I just use my multiply rules. I'm going to multiply my tops to get 10. Multiply my bottoms to get 3. So I'm going to have 10 over 3, and I see if it will reduce. 10 over 3 does not reduce. So you leave it as an improper fraction. You do not change to a mixed number unless it's a multiple choice and the answers are in a mixed number. Or unless the question asks you to change it. Okay? Let's try B. On B, which one's going to flip upside down? Good, the 2 and the 7. The 2 and the 7 flip upside down. Only the second one ever flips. So 5 divided by 8 stays the same. I change the divide to a times, and then I flip the second one, 7 over 2. Now we times our tops to give me 35, times my bottoms to give me 16. Now I check the 35 and 16 and see if it'll divide lower. And in this case it doesn't. Okay, so that means I'm done. Okay, that's our lowest term answer. Our answer is 35 over 16. Now let's take a look at the rules. Here's our rules. Write down our rules for dividing positive and negative numbers. Well, first of all, you forget the negative signs until the very end. Okay, so forget negative signs until finished the operations. Then we count the number of negative signs. And what do we know? If we have an odd number of negative signs, let's put it down here. Okay, so if you've got an odd number of negative signs, what do you know that your answer is going to be? Negative. Good. So the answer is negative. If you have an even number of negative signs, the answer is positive. Good. Okay, your answer is positive. All right, so let's take a look at our next example down here. We've got example C. Okay, there's example C right here. So example C, how many negative signs do you see? 1. So is our answer going to be positive or negative? It's going to be negative. Good. So now you just forget the negative signs completely and you do all your multiplying and dividing rules. So dividing rules say, flip the second one and change it to times. So I'm going to have 2 over 5 timesing by 5 over 8. And again, you've got that negative sign out front. Okay, now we're at our step where we times our tops, times the bottoms. We're going to get a 10 over 40, and that's a negative, because our answer has to be negative. Will those divide lower? Yes, they'll both divide by 10. So since they both divide by 10, I divide the 10 out, and I'm going to get negative 1 over 4 is my final answer. And remember, we only saw one negative sign, which is an odd number of negative signs, 1, 3, 5, 7. So our answer is negative. Okay? Let's take a look at B. How many negative signs do you see? 2. So what's our answer going to be? Positive. So when I rewrite my numbers now, do I even have to write the negative signs? No, because my answer is going to be positive and they're going to disappear. So now I'm just going to do my last question here. So I've got 4 over 9 that stays the same. Timesing by, now I'm going to flip to 12 and 3. So I'm going to have 12 on top, 3 on the bottom. And remember, I got rid of the negative signs because you have 2 of them. They're going to disappear and give you a positive answer anyway. Now we're going to multiply tops. We get 48. We're going to multiply the bottoms. And we're going to get 27. These will both divide by 3. Okay, they go lower and they both divide by 3. That's going to give us 16 over 9. And that's our lowest it goes. It does not go any further. When we take a look at letter E, letter E and F, we've got numbers that are mixed numbers. When we deal with mixed numbers, we need to change them to impropers first, okay? So change the improper fractions on E and F, please. All right, first things first, we need to change to impropers. This is going to give us 13 over 5. We multiply the bottom and the side and add the top. Over here, we're going to get 23 over 7. We're still dividing. So now we've got to flip the second one. 13 over 5 timesing by 7 over 23. That's going to give us 91 over 115, and it does not go any lower. Okay, check your work. Who got the first one right? Okay, on F, you get 11 over 9, all negative. Dividing by a negative 4 over 5. So 11 over 9, timesing by 5 over 4. 2 negative signs mean my answer is going to be a positive. 55 over 36, and it does not go any lower. Okay, that's as low as it goes. Let's do the last two. Okay, check your work, please. The letter G, the 9, you need to put a 1 underneath it to make it into a fraction. We're going to have 9 over 1 timesing by 3 over 2 because I'm going to flip the second one after the divide sign. Now I times tops times bottoms. I'm going to get 27 over 2, and that does not go any lower. So 27 over 2 is your final answer. On the right, the negative 8 goes over 1 as well. So you have 4 over 7 timesing by 1 over 8, all negative. There's only one negative sign, so our answer is going to be negative. Now we times our tops times bottoms. Negative 4 over 56, and they both divide by 4 to give you negative 1 and 14. Okay, so negative 1 over 14 is your final answer. Check your work. When we divide decimals, you have to take a look. We can estimate things. Okay, so you can estimate that 1.38 is close to 1 and 0.6 is close to 0.5. So if you take 1.38 divided by 0.6, because 1 dividing by 0.5 should give you 2, so our answer should be close to 2. So let's take a look and see what we get. All right, if you actually divide the digits, so everybody take negative 1.38 and everybody divide that by 0.6. And see what you get for an actual answer. Do you get the negative 2.3? Check. Okay, you got a couple minutes to look at these ones and see how you did. 1.3. 0.6, 2.8, and negative 3.2. Okay, check your work.